This essay is called Chaos. Chaos. What is the best way to approach a discussion on chaos? I'm not sure, but I have a few ideas. First off, let me briefly define what I mean by chaos. Chaos refers to many things, and I am referring to things that happen in the world that are out of our control, and that shake us up, emotionally, mentally, or otherwise. They are the things that we can't avoid or always predict. Sometimes we challenge chaos in the world. With me personally, I am trying to confront the chaos just a little bit more, to be okay with it, so that I may be a little bit more assertive in my mannerisms and behavior. While we can't control chaos itself necessarily, we can respond to it intelligently and consciously. It is easy to have a fear-based response to variable stimuli in the world. I have been thinking about the way in which I immediately go into fight or flight mode whenever there is chaos or conflict. While I wouldn't say that fear is the only emotion, or even always a common emotion that I feel, it is certainly something that is there whenever I am confronting the chaos of the world. In fact, the fear might be a response to the chaos in the world. I am responding viscerally to a world that doesn't always make sense to me. Understanding that fear is one of the emotions that helps me to ground myself in the world, because I realize that the fear is not always correct, and that I do have options with the way that I respond to stimuli, that there are many things that I don't need to fear. Being mindful of fearful responses helps me to understand that the chaos is not all-controlling. Philosophically, the question of chaos gets very interesting. Chaos in mythology and science is often described as the void, the unknown, the abyss, black holes. When I speak of chaos, I am definitely using those things as a metaphor for what it is that I feel and what I observe. They are good analogies to the complexities we face in life. It isn't always so straightforward. With living life, I have learned that there are many things out of my control. I don't always want to challenge chaos. This is because some chaos is truly unknown, and we don't know the reason for it existing. We don't know why the chaos is there, and why it seems to be so out of our control. Whether we're talking about natural disasters, the mystery and unpredictability of human behavior, the darkness of the human heart and the existence of our shadow, and all of the things that we can't explain, all of these things are not so easy to understand. But they exist. I don't want to be so skeptical as to assume that I don't know what any of these things are, and that I can't explain any of them, but I'll admit I have a little bit of reverence for the unknown and for the things that I don't understand or can't explain. Chaos is one of those things. When I think of my own internal chaos, I think often about how the chaos within me does not make sense. It is often inexplicable, and it often confuses me. I realize that there are aspects to myself, whether from the unconscious mind or elsewhere, that I can't explain. I can't explain where my thoughts come from or why I feel things the way that I do. This is very interesting to engage with because it is not cut and dry. It is not straightforward. I don't understand why I am the way that I am, and while I can explain some things, I do have to acknowledge that there is my own internal chaos that I have to confront. Chaos itself doesn't always have to be bad or always have bad outcomes. The way that I understand it, chaos can actually bring about interesting change or unexpected outcomes. A good way of looking at it is that beautiful things can come out of chaos because they are coming out of unanticipated conditions. For instance, for the past year or so, I have been able to work really hard on my art because more people are at home because of the pandemic. There is much right material to write about because we are in an unprecedented time. I find this example specifically to show that chaos doesn't always have to lead to negative outcomes, that in fact, sometimes the chaos can lead to good things as well. That said, there are a lot of things that I feel are out of my control. Part of the difficulty with realizing this is that I have to admit that there are some things that I just won't understand, or that I won't be able to stop from happening. I don't know how other people engage with the unknown and the chaotic elements of life, but I know that I myself usually do okay by reminding myself that while I may not be able to explain a lot of things, I will be able to at least conceptualize it and try to understand the chaos in some capacity. But it is hard to live in a world where there are so many things that are out of our control. The things that you can't control can often make us feel overwhelmed. For instance, I can't control the choices that other people make around me. I can't control what they do. That is chaos. I can, in response to Viktor Frankl, control my reaction and the way that I respond, but it is still a difficult thing to deal with. But at least in terms of the choices that other people make, certainly it is frustrating sometimes trying to figure out the best way to respond, even if you don't know what that response should be. Chaos is uncomfortable for me because it is unavoidable, but I think that it is still, nonetheless, a significant part of life, and not just my life. In many mythological stories, chaos often creates novel things. For instance, out of the void, existence was formed, and if you think about it, that is remarkable, that something does come from nothing, that it takes chaos for things to actually exist. Even with thinking about cosmology from a scientific perspective, the beginning of our universe started off very volatile and explosive, and I find that to be very fascinating. Keeping chaos in perspective helps to be able to deal with the unpredictable things in the world. I may not easily be able to explain every aspect of my existence. There are many things that are subject to chaos and are unknown, but this is not bad in and of itself, because there is a lot of potential from such a condition. It seems to me that realizing that chaos is powerful but also beautiful is a good step towards realizing that the beauty in the world comes from the things that we can't explain. It comes from the unknown and the chaotic. This is counterintuitive but seems to be true. I do find beauty in chaos, something that I need to acknowledge. Obviously, the suffering that comes from such chaos is not something I like, but there is beauty in the unknown around us. Imagine if you could observe a supernova, how explosive that would be. Phenomena can be very chaotic and volatile, but they are so beautiful too, and there is a lot to value in that. It doesn't make sense in a lot of ways, and we can't explain such phenomena, but they are remarkable nonetheless. For me, the best way that I understand chaos is by recognizing that I can't control it, but that I don't need to. Observing it, understanding it, seems to be a step in the right direction. I recognize that chaos is the void, and we can't stop that void from swallowing everything up. We want to be able to control enough elements in the environment to survive, but at a certain point, we just have to marvel at the beauty of it all. I may not like chaos, but I see it as incidental. I see it as fundamental to our lives, even if we don't like it. There is value in realizing that chaos is beautiful and that it can bring about novel things, in realizing that chaos is not always bad. This helps me realize that I don't need to control everything, and allows me to have a humble viewpoint about the world and the cosmos and the universe in which I live in. I find a lot of hope in that, and I am glad that I am able to work through the chaos and myself to be able to become the best person I can be.